Welcome to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, RockAuto.com, 3M, and by Die Hard. Here's your MotorWeek podcast host, John Davis.
Welcome to MotorWeek podcast number 88. I am John Davis, and sitting around our table in Studio C today is producer, writer, and two-wheeling reporter Brian Robinson.
Glad to be here.
Our road test producer, Ben Davis.
Hello.
Our writer, Patrick Lucas.
I am Patrick Lucas.
And we're all very glad for that, Patrick. And our assistant producer, who you just heard from, Greg Carlos.
What's cracking, fellas?
Also, we've got with us today our intern, Joe Ligo, who's going to be handling the bell duties when we get around to our lightning round. We'll also look at our MotorWeek mailbag. But we're going to get right to it and talk about three of the vehicles that have been in our lot in the last few weeks. First one, Bentley Continental GT Speed Convertible. Okay, excess on wheels, but did you like it?
It's fast.
It lives up to its name.
Yeah, it definitely lives up to the GT speed. 616 horsepower, 590 pound-feet of torque. I'll say that after I drove it for, 10 minutes, the novelty of driving a Bentley wore off. But then
you're obviously not a rap star.
But then I turned on the neck warmers, and I was right back at home.
Neck warmers in summer, all right.
Hey, I guess it starts with the GT Speed Coupe, which was the fastest Bentley ever at 205 miles an hour. Basically just the GT with engine cranked up and with some recalibration. But from there, the convertible, same exterior treatments.
But a nice looking convertible with the top down.
Yeah, for sure. The Continental's always been a sexy car, and looks even more so now.
It's hard to believe that chassis began life with the with Volkswagen and the Phaeton, and it's been used on everything from Porsche SUVs on to Bentleys. I mean, they've got an amazing amount of work out of that chassis.
I think they've pretty much all been excellent vehicles.
Yes,
too.
They have.
I was a little bummed out that some of the creature comforts and inside weren't as nice as an Audi A8.
Whoa.
Just the design going into it. After driving it for a day or two, you start picking up on things that look a little cheap for a Bentley. For instance, the Breitling clock looks awesome. The dials on it look perfect, works of art. But then you start focusing on the dials of the speedometer and tachometer. They look like they're straight off of a Sebring or something. And then you notice the turn signal stalks and wiper stalks, they look budget Volkswagen, and as well as the shifter plate around the shifter. They all look like parts off of a Jetta.
Harsh. Ooh. What do you want for $270,000?
Well, I wanted to look as nice as an A8 for $100,000 less, or $150,000 less. There's just no excuse.
You're right about that. When you think about if we all basically took a vote on what's probably got some of the nicest interior on the market today, it might well be an Audi because they've done such a great job, and the A8 is a beautiful car. And you would think that they would be thinking, but I guess they figure maybe Bentley owners aren't going to look that far down market.
Yeah,
it's just the whole,
aren't you paying for the engine?
Large price equals the best quality or the best you can get, but not in this case.
But again, even that engine began life as a Volkswagen engine. So
sure, yeah. I mean, Bentley engineers they put do some head work on it and kind of massage it, so it puts out a lot more power than the Audi version. But yeah, it's just the Audi. You can get that same engine in the A8.
It is a very nice performing car, though. I mean, I think it not only is it fast, but I frankly felt that it felt more agile than its size indicates. I mean, in line with a lot of recent Bentleys that we've had.
It was definitely fast, especially in a straight line. But the big thing with that, like even when you're cruising at like 100, I'm not saying that I did that, but
of course not.
Saying you didn't either.
Like you can just hit the gas and the thing just takes off when you're already doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
And then you let off the throttle and the thing wants to keep going. The turbos take a while to kind of settle down.
Yeah, it doesn't look as menacingly fast as it is. It's pretty awesome. Much like myself.
Not that it really matters, but the top itself was almost a work of art, and the fact of how quiet it was and how you really felt like you were in a coupe. They've done a remarkable job on that. All right, I guess we've pegged the needle on the speed about as much as we can. Let's move on to one of the vehicles that's key to the rebirth of an American brand that's been basically on its heels for the last few years, and that's Lincoln, and the new Lincoln MKZ. Okay, is it more than a gussied up Fusion? I guess that's the first thing.
Yeah, I think for the first time in a long time, it really differentiated it from the Fusion. Overall, I would say it's a very nice piece. The interior is really nice, but it still doesn't look great to me. I mean, I don't care how much I hear about how great the split wing grille is. It's just not working for me.
It is the best one they've done yet.
Well, it's still, it's still not great to me anyway. It's a personal opinion, but it seemed to ride nice. Most people have driven the V6, and I hear that's pretty nice. But we had the 2-liter EcoBoost, which is a great engine, but I'm not sure. Yeah, it's really fitting to be in a luxury car.
Yeah, I mean, basically in this market, every time you've got to have a V6 for a lot of luxury buyers. They just will not look at a 4-cylinder, even though that is an engine you can get in the MKZ that you can't get in the Fusion.
I mean, I'm just not a huge fan of the car. Wasn't a fan of the styling. I really wasn't a fan of the push-button shifter. It's just slow, and
I don't mind that so much.
I thought I was going to mind it, but actually, I have to tell you, it reminded me of my youth when we used to have them in Chrysler. So it didn't bother me so much.
It didn't do anything for me.
You like a rotary dials better?
No, I don't. just give me a standard shifter, please, or I'll take my business to Fusion.
Yikes!
I thought they did I thought it's a pretty car. A split wing grille aside. The interior I thought was much more upscale than the Fusion. I was surprised, like everyone else, at how well they managed to differentiate it from Fusion. But when you wrote the road test draft, Brian, you sort of summed it up at the end by asking, and I'll ask everybody here, you think anybody's still listening that might even be interested in a Lincoln? Is it too little, too late?
It might be too late. It's not too little. I mean, I think they certainly made a good leap with it. But, I don't know. I don't really have a good answer for you there.
I think they've done, if you look at other premium brands from mainstream automakers, it's car to car, it's competitive, but I think they're going to have to do a lot more even to become a Cadillac. It took Cadillac well over a decade to build themselves back up, and it's going to take at least that long for Lincoln.
It's a good amount of luxury for $38 grand where it starts. I'd say it's a pretty decent bargain.
And they do have a hybrid. They do have the Fusion hybrid system in it.
Back to the push button trans. Yeah. I'm down with the technology, but I think they could have done a little more. I mean, freeing up all that space in the center console, but it was pretty much just a normal center console there. They could have done a little more there.
Put some more usefulness into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that they don't have the shifter down there, they could have opened that up, given them more of a open air, luxurious feel instead of the similar feel of the Fusion. So I don't know.
First step. Let's move on now to a car that I think I'll be very surprised if we're not fairly universally in like with it, and that's the Audi A8 TDI.
I'm in love with it. Far beyond like.
And the reasons are? We know you like the interior.
First time I jumped into it, it had a half a tank in it, and it said my destination to empty was almost 400 miles. So we're talking like close to 800-mile range on a full tank. That alone signed the contract for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's always encouraging when you're on the highway and you're actually watching your range go up. It's just, I can't really pick on anything about this car. I mean,
whisper quiet,
the V6 turbo diesel has got tons of torque, man. Step on the gas and you're gone. All-wheel drive puts it down, and
it's a heck of a car for sure. I think the best thing to me, I mean, as great as it is, it's not that much more than the base A8, and it's way cheaper than the turbo V8 gas and the W12. So it's not like you're paying a huge premium for it. It would certainly be my engine of choice if I were to buy an A8. And although you got to get the long wheelbase as of right now, all the diesels are long wheelbase. But
Which didn't bother me in this car. I thought it would. I thought I would feel like I was driving a limousine around, but it's such a delightful car to drive. I mean, the A8 itself, it's been my favorite, I guess, almost since it first came out. And every iteration of it, they seem to make it more of a standout. Yeah, you can probably get a little bit more over-the-top luxury in some other vehicles, and you can argue all day long on whether or not, a Mercedes S-Class or a top BMW is a better car overall. But there's something about the Audi A8 that just feels right when you get in it.
yeah, it's so classy. Everything about it is just classy.
Sporty.
Beautiful car. Well, like I said, I figured just about everybody liked it. Any other comments? Let's move
Small
on now.
trunk, if we want to talk negatives.
What?
I got another negative.
Tiny-
All right,
Already
go
getting
ahead.
into the
Come on,
negatives.
throw it in.
A small trunk,
Small trunk.
incredibly small, like mid-sized car, small.
And Greg?
It's a little bit complicated. There's a lot going on in the car. There's almost too much going on. I was driving home, and I just wanted to turn off the rear AC because it was blaring in my ear. I'm trying to listen to my death metal music, and I could
That's
not.
your first problem.
I could not for the life of me figure it out and drive at the same time.
All right, I got one. How long did it take you to figure out how to put down the shades in the back?
I just gave up.
Oh, it's just the rear window switch, right?
I know
I
it,
thought
but
it
I
was on the
kept
clapper or
I
something.
kept looking for a separate switch to put down the shades on the side windows in the rear, and it took me forever. And it's like, oh.
Multi-purpose buttons. It's the wave of the future.
All right, well, we had to
Embrace
nitpick
it.
it just a little bit just to show that.
Sorry, we're not all prodigies.
Okay, time for our lightning round. Joe's here with the bell. After 2 minutes, he'll ring it if we haven't reached the end of this, exhausted this particular question. And this is a very self-serving question, and that's good. A new season of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine, ta-da, premieres soon. And without giving it too much away, this is our 33rd season. And, gentlemen, as we move into that, what are you looking forward to? I mean, what do you think we're going to be talking about this year that's exciting, and what events are coming up that we're going to be able to tell everybody about? Any general thoughts about season 33?
Well, we always try to start off with a bang, and we got a Bugatti coming up in show 1, so I guess that's the biggest thing to look forward to.
And a Ferrari after that, the F12, and the new Corvette Stingray.
Cherokee. Getting ready to drive the Cherokee. Excited
And-
about that.
The nice thing about what we do on our testing is that we cover the waterfront. We go all the way from the least expensive car you buy to the dream cars.
I thought maybe we were going to do some boats or something, too.
Well, we've done a couple of those in the past as well.
True,
None on the
true.
schedule right
No,
now.
I'm just I've been on so many EV trips this past year that I'm very curious to see, given an entire year, the 2014 model year, what's actually going to happen. You got the new BMW, you got the Spark EV, very limited release though, but
You got
the
the
Fit
next
EV
Tesla is
yeah,
coming
the next
too.
Tesla, the Fit EV is rumored for 14 or 15.
Right.
I'm very curious to see if the market is there yet. So,
And what
I'm sure
automakers
we'll
are going to
find out.
do to make the market real. I mean, some of the moves that BMW is talking about with the i3 about providing a fleet of dealer loaner cars. While it doesn't sound any different than you renting a car from the airport, if they do it that it's convenient, you don't have to sign your life away every time you go in, it could mean that people won't worry about range anxiety quite as much.
It'll be interesting.
Ben, how about you?
I'm looking forward to going to Roebling again and seeing what kind of
nice.
heavy hitters are going to show up.
I'm sure we'll have a Corvette down there.
And different and exciting camera angles we can bring to you that we haven't before.
All kinds of crazy technology. Mustang. Got a new Mustang. Should be coming out pretty
By
soon.
next spring.
We'll know what it looks like. And
Awesome.
Gotta
Will it be
looking forward to that
retro,
one.
or will they do something different?
I'm sure it'll have an
They've already
Aston
got-
Martin-inspired grill on it.
They've already got camo pics of it.
Although these days the camouflage photographs are so complete, you can barely tell what anything looks like anymore. But it's going to be interesting to see if they follow through on the Mustang with their threat to basically walk away from the retro look or not.
Yeah, I think that's a given. They're
That's it, Joe.
Go ahead, Brian. Finish the thought. Finish the thought.
What's the point of the bell if we're not going to abide by
Too
it?
soon.
No, he gets to finish it. It's like throwing a ball in basketball. You know,
No, I
if
was
it's
thinking-
already released, it counts.
They've
Follow the
already
rules,
said
people.
they're done with the retro. They're looking forward, not to the past. So
Very good.
there you go.
All
That
right.
just means they're going to re-retro a 70s version Mustang and
could
call
be.
it
The
new.
Mustang 2.0.
On to our
2.1.
MotorWeek mailbag. Remember, if you submit a question and we choose it to answer on the podcast, you'll get a fabulous pre-shrunk MotorWeek T-shirt. Here we go. Steve and his wife asked this question together. What is the... We don't have his wife's name, which is why it says Steve and his wife on this piece of paper. What is the advantage... Oh, this is a good one. What is the advantage of push-button start over a regular key starter? And my wife wants to know the advantage of unidirectional tires. So let's take the first one. Or we can start either way you want. Any one you want. Unidirectional tires are usually
Let's start with
way.
the button because I've got a good one.
All right, go. What are the advantages or
tires.
disadvantages
Been waiting the whole
of push-button start versus a regular key? Ben Davis.
Well, I didn't think there was any other than aesthetics, but my grandmother, who was getting on in age and had arthritis developing in her wrist, actually couldn't turn the key anymore.
Very good.
And she loved it. It made her able to drive again, which she honestly stopped driving because she couldn't turn the key anymore.
You know, I hadn't thought about that, but I actually had to put a handle on a key for my mom when her arthritis got that bad. And you're right, push-button start would have solved that problem. That's a good one.
I think the real benefit and the reasoning is just less mechanical parts, you know.
Less wiring.
Yeah, well, I don't know about less wiring.
There's substantially, apparently, less wiring.
But, you know, everything's just simpler and cheaper, the way everything needs to be built these days.
And cooler.
Yeah, there's a certain aesthetic quality to them.
I got a safety thing that I actually like. Most people, when they think about when they're, say the car's running away from you, like we've seen some over the years, a lot of people will reach to the key to turn it off.
What do you mean running away from you? As in
acceleration. Say it's, there's all these unintended acceleration.
Okay.
People say the car's throttle sticks and the car's running away, and they either can't turn it off, or when they turn it off, they turn the key all the way off. I'm talking about traditional keys now, and it locks the steering wheel. Mm-hmm. Where with the push button, if you do hit it and manage to kill the engine, it doesn't lock the steering wheel. And so, to me, that seems to be a potential plus.
Hadn't thought of that one.
Yeah.
Very good.
However, a negative that a lot of people are also concerned with is that you can shut the motor off without putting the vehicle in park or putting the parking brake on, and it will roll away from you. So there seems to be...
Just can't win this one.
I don't think they're looking for disadvantages. They were just looking for...
Well, I think that is a big one, because we've heard a lot of cases where people in a hurry have jumped out of the car and it's rolled away.
Yeah, not to mention the whole, is the key in the car, out of the car?
That happens a lot too. That happened recently. I jumped into a car and the person who had the keys in his pockets jumped out. And I was still following that person in another vehicle, but it said key fob not detected. Yeah. And then who knows how far I could have gotten away.
Yeah, well, some of them you can drive them forever. Once you get it started, it's
once
game on. You can leave the car and the key in the garage, and
once
you
you
can go to
However,
work.
when you get to the
Don't
other
turn it
end,
off, you'll be fine.
It's pretty
you're
scary.
stuck.
Yeah.
I've gotten so accustomed to push button start now that I've actually found myself getting angry when I have to pull the key out of my pocket and
it's all that
plug
death
it in
metal.
and turn it. I've literally had feelings of anger getting into a car and realizing it's not a push button.
Well,
then I have
you're around the office. You're such a mild-mannered guy. So.
Look
I
at
don't
that.
like the fact that they're burying the push buttons behind a stalk or something on so many cars. I mean, if you're going to do it, show it off somewhere.
Well, the RAV4 we have has it in a good position.
Yeah.
The CX-5 was notably bad, right behind the washer.
We're just talking about the MKZ. That has it right above all the shifter buttons, which took me a while at first to find, but once you know it's there, it's actually in a pretty easy spot.
And that brings up another point. Some manufacturers are making them so that they are not round. I keep looking for a round one.
And they don't stand out in any way, like the Lincoln and we had some Chevy in here recently.
Yeah,
it took the same way.
I remember you saying, if you could get that started in 10 minutes. Couldn't find it.
So
answer the tired question.
Steve, I think that basically gives you some insight into what we think of push-button start. There's mostly positives, we think, but there are some negatives, and it does require a change in how you think about driving. Now, let's look at talk about the question real quickly that your spouse has raised about what is the advantage of directional tires?
I think they're strictly for performance, whether it's handling performance or channeling rain.
Yeah,
they generally, when you make the tread go only one way, you're able to increase the traction for whatever you're looking for, whether it's all-weather traction or performance tires, and because they don't have to compromise by making it work both directions. However, can make the tire more expensive.
And you have to buy them more often since you can't rotate.
Yeah. Any other comments?
I know there's a couple of off-road tire manufacturers that make directional tires, and the biggest argument against those is you've got more aggressive forward traction, but when it comes time to back up,
you lose
it's not
it.
there.
Huh. That's a very good
Hadn't
point.
thought of that one.
I think it seems like we're seeing less of them. Am I wrong about that? I mean, for a while they were on almost everything.
Yeah, well, you just don't go to Mr. Tire and get new tires and end up with directionals. You have to pretty much seek them out and know the
They're very
performance
expensive.
advantages of them to even be in the market for them.
So the nutshell is that unless you're looking for the ultimate performance in whatever aspect the tire provides, or whether it be dry performance handling or wet or off-road, it's probably, unless you're really going after that extreme limit, it's probably not worth the extra money if you have to pay for them.
Are we going to send them two T-shirts?
I think
or
we should
do they
send
have to
2
share
T-shirts.
one?
Yeah,
or what's going on?
we'll
That
send
was
them
probably the
both.
longest we've ever talked about.
It was a
A
good
lot of
question.
knowledge to
2
share.
good questions. So thank you, Steve.
Talkative
and
bunch.
thank you, Mrs. Steve, for those very good questions for our mailbag.
Right.
And that brings to a close our MotorWeek podcast number 88. I want to thank all the guys around the table, our producer, writer, and two-wheeling reporter, Brian Robinson, our road test producer, Ben Davis, our writer, Patrick Lucas, our assistant producer, Greg Carlos, and also Joe Ligo is the man on the bell. Also want to thank our audio engineer. That was really weak, Jonah. Come on. That could be the last time you ever get to ring that bell. Not much better. Jim Bigwood, who's in the back and making sure that all of our voices go down perfectly, and our podcast creator, Bob Mixter. Thank you all for listening to our podcast. Be sure to watch MotorWeek on your local public television stations and also on the Velocity Cable channel. Till next time, I'm John Davis. For all of us at MotorWeek, thanks for watching and listening, and we'll talk to you again soon.
You have been listening to the podcast of MotorWeek, television's original automotive magazine. MotorWeek is made possible by TireRack.com, RockAuto.com, 3M, and by Die Hard. For additional information on podcasts, videos, and showtimes, visit our website at MotorWeek.org. And watch MotorWeek, television's longest-running automotive magazine series each week on your local PBS station.